Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Hello, Nitya. Hello.
Yeah, Victor, I can. Sorry, there was some problem. I had to rejoin.
Okay, okay. Okay, so in today's session, our learning outcome, we're going from our objectivities, we're going to be able to manage and complete an ICT project. So our indicative contents for today, we're going to look into the best practice development process, communicating technology information, project planning tools, and a business case. So as we all have seen from our previous session, where we have introduced the major concept of project management and look into the tools. Now we can also see by how the process can be done by applying a life cycle. So as we can see from a waterfall phase, when it comes to deploy, we'll simply have going to have a requirements analysis, design, develop, test, and deploy. So when it comes to deploying, we will have different type. We'll have sub-tasks for it, where we will have a pre-deployment phase, deployment, sustainment, redeployment, and the post-deployment. So by subdividing this tasking by subdividing the main task into smaller tasks, it will be easier for us to manage our project. This concept can be applied with other system development methodologies, which can be used even for Agile, Scrum, or many others. So when it comes to communication with technical information, we're going simply to understand that is the tools, system, and the equipment that are used to transfer information from the stakeholder to the project. From the stakeholder of the project. So these are simply the way we're going to have our information redistributed with every single entity involved. Also, we need to take consideration of consistency. By having consistency, we're going to be establishing clear terms of governance for the application of the project management in the organization. Also, we're going to develop a clear management methodology and framework. So by following these steps, it will be now easier for us to stay consistent within our project and being able to achieve our target within the established frame time. Also, we can now provide project team easy to use project management tools. And as we saw from our previous tutorial, these softwares, these tools are really vital for our project management in order for the team and stakeholders and operational managers to be able to conduct all the project successfully. Also, we need to take consideration of peer reviews, where by having these peer reviews, we are now effective means of averting errors before construction get undertaken. So with peer reviews, it's just a preventing way to analyze our feedbacks in order to draw some new design and improve our project. Also, we can now find opportunities for more cost-effective designs. Also, we already explained what estimation is in project management, and now we're looking into 3 types of them, which can be classified as the effective estimation process. So we have analog estimation, where with this one here, is going to use a similar past project in order to estimate the cost and duration for the existing one, for the project that we're working on. Then we have bottom-up estimation, which is just the method to estimates each task individually, which goes from the starting to the very bottom to the resulting goals. And lastly, we have parametric estimation, where this method is going to calculate estimates using detailed data from previous activity and uses of relation between variables to estimate the cost and duration of our current project. Also, now we're going to look into technical information methods to communicate our project with our stakeholders. So as you can see, it's really important to have some integrity, not just data integrity, but even communication, where it is important. It is a really important aspect of a project manager, is that he must be prepared to deliver bad news, where he's going to the project never go perfectly to plan. So on every project, there is always a chance where we're gonna have bad news. So the integrity, we need to ensure that we communicate information in a way where everything can be handled, even if it's it's going to give us a bad outcome. So some suitable ways to communicate with our stakeholders is through, for instance, emails and newsletters, communication automation, presentation, project summary reports, group video call or screen-to-screen meetings, leverage information stakeholders communication. So I wanted to ask, from your past experience, what was the way that your organization communicated with you some bad news?
It's always through email. So for example, if there is any arbitrary news also, so those emails have always been communicated through emails.
Okay.
So email has always been an important source of communication internally.
Okay, so we'd say emails at the top as a communication.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to look into how we can successfully deploy a solution for an ITC problem. So in order for us to do so, we have to look into our project scope management. So as we explained before in the previous tutorials, where we explained the constraints, the three main constraints, which are time, scope, and cost. For us to obtain a successful one, we have to look into the scope. So we might have different scope, and from our project manager is really vital. He understands and is able to manage each scope effectively, so we can have a planned scope management, collect requirements, then we're going to define the scope, create a WBS, which we did yesterday, validate our scope, and then control the scope. So as a project manager, by following these stages, we should now be able to effectively control and execute our scope. Then when it comes to looking into a business aim, which are pretty much related to our scope, we now have to see that by project aim, we're just looking into the objectivities that are successfully developed of the project procedure by the initialization, planning, execution, regulation, and closure, as well as the guidance of the project team's operations towards achieving all the agreed upcoming goals within our set scope, time, and quality, and also our budget. So as we can see, these objectivities have to align with the scope that we just discussed. Also, as an effective project, we have to take consideration of our risk analysis. As we can see, by having this, is going to involve examining how the project outcome and objectivities might change during the impact of a risk event. So once the risk has been identified, they are now analyzed to identify the qualitative and quantitative impact of the risk on the project, so that we can appropriate step can be taken to mitigate them. So as we saw from the three constraints, we can now also look into the bad side, where we also see how this information will be communicated by our manager. And in order to avoid all these problems, it is important to have our risk analysis and risk assessment. Now, as we saw, we already spoken, we have expressed the best way of communicating bad news with stakeholders, but now we're also going to look how we'll communicate our findings. So traditional method of communicating research will include oral presentation, poster presentation, publishing abstract and peer reviewing research papers, also understanding our audience and the purpose of dissemination are going to be the key to effectively communicating our research finding. So when it comes to bad news, we saw that emailing will be the most effective way to communicate. When it comes to finding our research, a suitable way will be through presentation, where we're going to explain what are the findings and how these are going to benefit the company and the stakeholders. So here is the simple roadmap of how this will occur. Any question for this session? Hello, Nitin. Hello. Hello, Niti, can you hear me? Okay, so I am assuming there are no questions. So we can go with the next presentation. So for this tutorial, we're going to be able to test on our development. So from our indicative content, learn Nitin, and I just know if you're following. Hello, Nitin. She's been having issues to connect. Hello, Nitin. Hello.
Hey, Victor.
Yeah, and I guess you'll be having problem to connect.
Yeah, I mean, I got dropped off.
Oh, okay, no problem. Okay, so we can now start with our last tutorial.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in this tutorial, our learning outcomes. Learners should be aware of the content with a test plan and how a test plan is directly referred to user and technical requirements. Then we'll look into test plan and the user documentation. Okay, so from the picture, we can see there are hierarchical stages. There has to be that this how an organization can structure a plan. So we have to take in consideration of our policies, where we're going to have test policies, also a strategy where we're going to use to find errors, bugs, and further implementation. Then we will have a project test plan, so how this will be carried out. By how this will be carried out must covers acceptance test plan, system test plan, integrations, and component test plan. This is how our test coverage would now be structured. When it comes to the methods that has to be applied for it, we'll now look into unit testing, where you have to test each single unit. Then integration and system testing. Also, we're going to have a regression testing and acceptance testing. So all these tests will now create the core of our testing phase. Also, there are various responsibilities where our manager has to take into consideration. So a couple of them can be analyze our system specification, contribute to the test plan creation, prepare a test scenario, and document our test case, collect test data, create a test batches, perform the test case, and report defect. I wanted to ask from your experience, Niti, is there any other responsibility that should be carried out when we looking into our testing our project?
I think creating a strategy, first of all, is required.
Yeah.
Having the strategy with respect to the overall organization and the estimates. These are the two important things apart from the ones listed there. So those are the things that are really required.
So they are the main responsibilities that you'd say when it comes to developing.
Yeah. Of a test manager.
For test, okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Niti, for sharing this with us. And as you can see here, we have more descriptions for how a successful test should look like. So this is a simple Gantt chart where he shows each week how he outlines for each week how each phase has been covered and if they've been successfully achieved by highlighting with appropriate colors. So when we look into a test description, we have to now take in consideration of keep it short and simple, be concise and avoid technical jargon, make it visual, also be honest with the progress, and conclusively highlight any action points. Also, as Niti said, we must have a strategy where we have some expected outcomes. And once we've been carrying out this testing, we'll have actual outcomes. So as you can see by the definition, the outcomes are the changes or results that the organization expect to be achieved after the successful completion of the project. So as you can see, the outcome could be quantitative or even qualitative, or even both of them. And when it comes to implementing some changes for our user testing process, we have to also have some considerations which can be related to disabilities, difficulties, or learning style. So these factors can be beneficial in order to have an effective implementation of the changes, where we always have to take into consideration of limitation of each of our stakeholders. So as you can see, there are easy to follow steps, easy to follow instruction, which are pretty much the same that we've been covering for the whole time. And also, when it comes to the manager documentation, this is a sample of criteria that we have to look into. So when it comes to a business case, we now have a document and a purpose that has to be achieved. And this is a sample of how the documentation must look like. So this was everything, and we can now move into our assignment discussion.
Oh, these two were smaller ones, short ones.
Pardon?
I'm saying these two units were small.
Yeah, these the conclusive ones for this unit, yeah. So from our assignment brief, we can now look into it. So the unit is independent project. It has a 20 credit, and we've been given a scenario. So our scenario says that you are employed as an ICT project manager in a system development organization, which specialize in developing systems to solve business problems. The organization has a range of public and private sector clients. The organization has secured a new client who has asked to explore suitable solutions, looking to digitalize the current business process. You have been assigned the project manager for this job. So you must complete the following tasks in relation to the client brief. So the client brief says, we are a large retail business that wishes to expand our service and start selling our product online in order to increase our market share and trade in new territories. We're looking to use information communication technology to begin trading online and also to solve problems that we have with our manual process. This problem includes stock management, logistics, traceability, payment, and inventory. This project must explore the potential solution that could be developed in order to solve the common problems we have identified. So your task one, you have been asked to document the consideration to make when planning your ICT project. Prepare documentation to support your consideration. So your documentation must include the identification of a specific problem which an ICT system can solve, an evaluation of legal, moral, and ethical issues relating to the ICT project, and an analysis of the principle, theories, and practice for planning the ICT solution, an exploration of the implication of common problems that can occur when planning the ICT project, an exploration of the methods used in defining and assessing criteria of the system project. To achieve a merit, your documentation must evaluate the benefit and the role of computer-based system within an organization. To achieve the distinction, your documentation must provide evidence of research and the evaluation of a potential solution for an additional problem which is more complex. So task 2, you have been asked to plan the ICT project for the client. Taking into account the client brief, your manager has asked you to document the steps you will be required to complete the project and create all associated project planning documentation, including the project plan. You will also be required to use project management software in order to generate a project timeline and a visual chart. You must apply project management principle throughout this project. So you must provide an analysis of the key steps required for executing the ICT state project, apply project management principle to the project, an evaluation of the of different roles within a project team, a formal project plan, evidence of using project management software, timelines and charts to display the project plan and associated information. Task number 3, your manager has now asked you to begin the development of the solution based on the information provided in task 1 and 2. Your manager has asked you to create a documentation plan detailing your communication between project and stakeholders. So your solution must deploy best practice development process, use tools for planning and implementing of a project, successfully develop a solution for the given ICT problem. Your communication plan should include evidence of communicating findings to project stakeholders, communicating technical information to project stakeholders, and you must submit a screencast demonstration recording of the final solution, the full source code of the application. So to achieve a distinction, you must create a documented business case for the suggested development. Task 4, you have now completed the project development and you must test the solution before completing the project and handing the result over to the client. So you must complete a test of the solution and make implements where necessary. The test completed should be robust and cover all the areas of development. So you must create a test plan and based on initial user requirements, successfully test the solution, implement changes from testing process. To achieve a merit task, you must create end user documentation for your ICT solution. Documentation should be user-friendly and follow a logical sequence. The documentation could be in the form of written instruction with screenshots or training video with screen recording and audio. Task number 5, you have now completed the project and have been asked to review the project and complete a post-project evaluation. The evaluation should cover all elements and stages of the project, including information on a lesson learned and what you would do differently in future projects. So you should create a post-project evaluation template and use this to document your evaluation. So this is everything for the unit.